Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It is 12/17/2018, and it's time for another Trader Talk. And it's a good one today because why is it good? Because Bitcoin is actually finally moving somewhere other than down. We'll see if that we'll see if that holds true for much longer. Maybe we're due for another retracement. Yeah, exciting times, guys, where Bitcoin is no longer at 3,200 and is no longer bouncing off that 3233, and now it's at 3,509. Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Why is this happening? Did Bitcoin hit its bottom? What's happening?
I think it's a shakeout. I think they're trying to create a little liquidity at the end of the year to get a little more profit for the whales who have been winning. But who knows, man? I mean, you know, a lot of because of the way Bitcoin often goes, it does whatever it wants. And I always say, be careful of what everybody knows, and everybody knows it's going to keep going down at this point. So, you know, kind of hard to say at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it crushed a lot of those margin traders that thought that it would continue going down or sideways. So if you did take a large position, it really hurt those people. But for the rest of us, you know, it's good. If you actually hold the underlying asset instead of you know, doing anything on the futures market, then it's actually pretty good, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, the longs have been building up, and they moved up, but yeah, it could be getting ready for a squeeze. We'll see what happens. It's likely we go up before we go down. That's just the nature of the beast in a low market cap, low liquidity market. So
that is very true. That is very, very true. And speaking of longs, what is it at right now? How's the long charts looking right now? I will pull up that chart, and BTC USD longs. I'm always curious why they don't have BitMEX on here and they only have Bitfinex on here, but it actually looks really good. And I will share my screen. How do I do that? Share, and let's share that. Whoa. Whoops. So, do you guys see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So it actually looks pretty good. Since September, this is since September 2018, 2017. So we're coming up on almost all-time highs here, almost.
Yeah.
Which is surprising. Very surprising.
It's definitely good sentiment, but often it sets you up for a short squeeze.
Yeah.
A long squeeze, actually. Sorry.
Yeah, and so, I mean, since it did shoot up this rapidly, we're expecting some sort of retracement, right? I mean, this isn't sustainable, this kind of action, right?
Well, no, and if you look at it too, it like basically this. I mean, we started with the first green weekly candle in a very, very long time. But if you look at it, if you break it down to the daily, you see it basically came up right about just where the 20-period moving average and what used to be our long-term support, you know, literally the long-term trend line of support. It came right up to it, kissed off it, and bounced off. And now, you know, I'm just looking at the Coinbase chart right now, and it looks like, you know, the candle body is starting. There's not much of a wick there, but it, you know, doesn't look like there's enough volume to sustain it. You know, it looks like it's got a little flag forming, although maybe a little bit of a pennant there.
Yeah,
forming at the end. So we might see it go for another leg up. I'm curious. I mean, you know, myself, I would want to see it go back up over that resistance. You know, before I'm going to be starting to feel too bullish at this point. Before I'm not going to feel like this is just a fake out.
Yeah, I agree. And the whole market is up today.
Yeah, everything went crazy. Like ontology was up like 15% or something like that. I saw everything was up crazy.
EOS was up a lot today as well.
Yeah, that was another big gain. I think it was another one that was like 15%.
So
yeah, a lot of them.
So on the daily, I mean, what was our rock bottom here? Our rock bottom was, what is that?
I think 3,100 so far.
Yeah, 3,150. So that's kind of our bottom right now. Or we could hit that again, and then we'll see a long line of support. Hopefully, if we do go below that, that would be sad. But you know, we are still seeing a lot of, you know, I don't think this is, you know, in the grand scheme of things, even though it is up 10%, this isn't a very big candle compared to what we've seen. You know, we've had much bigger red candles, and you know, from that one day that we went from 6,000 to you know, 4,500. So that's a 1,500. That's a 25% loss. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not much. And considering we went from 11,000 to 14,000 in one day, you know, in the grand scheme of things, like I was just saying, it really isn't a big move. So maybe it is just so we have a couple comments here today. Tax loss sellers still holding. They will sell next week. What do you guys think about that? You think that people are going to start claiming some losses for their taxes, you know, at the end of the year? Is that what's happening? What do you guys think?
I think that's definitely a factor. I mean, I think people will. I mean, a certain amount. I mean, I think probably more and more people are trying to realize, you know, oh, I got beat up this year. What am I going to do about it? And even though you can only write off a small amount, being able to write off some of your losses is better than realizing no, you know, no tax savings from your losses. So I definitely think the potential is there, certainly. You know, I have been trading in and out of some things myself in it for exactly this reason. So if I'm savvy enough to do it, then probably people that are way smarter than me, you know, I'm not like that sophisticated of an investor. So if I'm savvy enough, then I would imagine probably other people are as well.
Right. No, I completely agree. So we just saw that it was 30. It went from 32 to 35. What's going on with Ether? What do you guys think is going to happen with Ether, and do you expect this Ether to follow the same move there?
Let's see.
Everything's kind of thinking for itself. Some of the last drops of Bitcoin, a lot of the altcoins were already priced in. So we've had our price discovery, and people think that's the bottom for those ones. So Bitcoin really has to dump hard for them to find a new price. So I think once Bitcoin actually starts making some real moves, then that's when you'll see the other ones definitively follow, especially some of the bigger ones like Ethereum.
Right. And we've pretty much given up hope on Litecoin, or do you think it'll return from the dead?
I will say congrats to Litecoin for last week overtaking the Bitcoin trash fiasco in market cap. So I think that was more a factor of Bitcoin cash factions murdering one another than it was of massive market sentiment for Litecoin. That being said, congratulations to Satoshi Light on that one. For at least staying out of the disaster that's beating up the competitors and allowed them to overtake them in market cap. I was rather amused with that personally.
Right. And so what is the timeline for Ethereum to really, what is it? Is it Casper?
They got Constantinople coming out, I think is supposed to be, if I recall correctly, I think it's the 14th of January. I might be misspeaking on the date there.
And that is proof of stake?
I don't believe that's moving over to proof of stake yet. I believe that's just a code fork to address some of the scaling issues. But I believe that's coming up. I want to say it's first week, or if it's not, I don't know why. The number, the 3rd or the 4th, or maybe the 13th or the 14th are sticking in my head. Now I can't remember off
something like that.
It's one of those two, but that upgrade is supposed to happen. So I guess ultimately, it all depends on how quickly the scaling issues get solved for Ethereum, right? I mean, and whether that's through sidechain solutions or actually upgrading the code base to be able to address more transaction speeds. I don't know. I've been wondering lately if, I don't know, if there's going to be another one, like, Tron keeps talking about no transaction fees on our network, and there's a number of other tokens with the same sort of thing that effectively want to be the world computer / platform to launch further projects on. So this is something I've been trying to think of more and more is ETH as likely to come back as I might have once thought it would? I'm not sure.
We're gonna get some good pre-warning. We're going to see some definitive migration to these other platforms. That I hear it all every day. We're using Ethereum. This new project's coming. They're using Ethereum. That's the one they know. It's easy. A lot of coders now for Solidity, and that's just the one they go with. Once we'll start seeing that movement. Earlier in the year, I started seeing a lot of projects move to Neo, which is going to be the next best thing, but that kind of didn't pan out. So yeah, we'll start seeing that trend. And we'll see people moving to wherever it may be.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw this earlier though. Earlier last week, CZ, Binance's CEO, said the next bull run is going to be taking place by Amazon, and once Amazon starts accepting crypto, they will, we'll start seeing that next bull run. What do you guys think about that? You think that's actually going to happen?
I mean, I 100% would agree. If Amazon did say tomorrow we're accepting Bitcoin, we would probably see a massive uptick in valuation, just because all of a sudden it's going to, I think that would give an endorsed use case to some people. And, I would assume that probably retail investors and institutions would take that to mean that probably Jeff Bezos or some very expensive people that work for him were able to do enough due diligence. They're like, yeah, we have confidence that this payment protocol is secure and we're willing to deal with the volatility, or maybe there's a solution to the volatility. Depends. But I certainly think that Amazon's involvement in crypto, whether we like it or not, would certainly entice more of the mainstreamers to pay attention and accept it.
So
yeah, I see it in blockchain services. If they're just simply going to accept money for products, well, Bitcoin for products, it's just going to constantly be liquidated on the market anyway. It will increase volume at least. Just based on them doing it, the sentiment there is, that's going to cause an impact, positive impact.
That's true. That's true. And then we have a couple comments here. Is how many ETH do you need to hold when they go to proof of stake? I think the last time I heard was 1,000. Is that correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah, I read something about that today. People were talking about it. I don't actually know factually. I don't
think they've even released the details yet. Yeah, I don't think they've even released the details yet.
Yeah.
And we have a second comment saying Amazon would just sell all their BTC for fiat.
Well, I just said that.
Yeah, and so we've already covered that, but I mean that's, I don't think any big business would want that volatility in,
It's a liability.
Yeah.
Regulations, taxes. It's just not the way to do it. Overstock tried to do it, but it was touch and go, really.
So as a commodity, for example, if I said, hey, I want to buy this car with a brick of gold, right? Is that brick of gold taxed on any sort of gains, or who gets taxed on that brick of gold? Is it just a regular sales tax?
So you would have paid tax on the money that you used to buy the brick of gold in the first place,
right? But,
and then you pay
at the point of sale. At the point of sale, there's no capital gains tax. Is that correct on commodities? That's an interesting facet because it's not quite fiat, where there's defined rules. But imagine having a barter system. Hey, here's this gallon of water. For this burger. Something like that. What does the tax system look like on that, especially for commodities? I think that's crazy, and I think today,
there must be a capital gains tax on that.
Really, even at
if it's after a year, it's reduced. So
Right.
I mean,
it's reduced to 15.
Cost basis for it, but how do you do cost basis on a gallon of milk that you produced from your own cow or whatever? I mean, are we talking about just buying commodities, or are we talking about actually getting it back to a barter system?
Yeah, I think there has to be. I think instead of the point of sale where it's taxed as physical cash, there's got to be some sort of antiquated bartering trade system. That a law that we must have overlooked or haven't even heard of. I think that's the only logical explanation there. But today was actually pretty crazy because as a Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 kind of took a dip today, Bitcoin actually performed pretty well, which usually we don't really see that divergence. We've been really hoping for that divergence, but today was one of those days where we actually saw a nice 10% jump on Bitcoin and a 3% dump on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. What does that mean? Is this just go ahead.
I just think it's because Bitcoin's price is so low and we're kind of stabilizing around that 3K mark. So it was kind of due for a correction. I don't know if there's any direct correlation with other markets, and we're too nascent, we're too young to really have that correlation and defined we are low correlated, but to find that inverse correlation, we're just way too young.
Yeah, actually, I saw
way more data.
I saw this infographic on Reddit. So Bitcoin, so gold market cap is 7.4 trillion. Apple is 817 billion. Amazon is 700 billion. Facebook is 400 billion. JP Morgan is 400 billion. Visa is at 300 billion. PayPal is at 92 billion. Bitcoin's at 65 billion. So we're not even touching or scraping the surface here compared to other markets or even other industries. So I definitely agree with you there that, I don't think, Bitcoin has any divergence or any impact or its correlation to any other market. It's kind of its own. But when will it not be of its own? When will we see, is that quote unquote mass adoption? I hate using that word nowadays. Is that when the Amazons and Apple start accepting Bitcoin? Or when do you foresee that happening, when there is actually a correlation? People are saying 2020 during the next halving or during the next financial collapse. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so if there's a financial collapse or a major war or more hyperinflation in certain countries, that kind of thing will really give us some good data to work with. Obviously, they're not preferable occurrences.
Right.
That's true.
I mean, it's sort of to that point is there are some socioeconomic experiments, whether we like it or not, going on right now in some of these undeveloped nations. Venezuela, I think, is something that we should keep an eye on for as a model, or at least as a what's the word I'm looking for? Just an example, I guess, of can it work? Whether or not it's a good example, their economy is in shambles right now, and there has been a lot of crypto projects trying to do some good down there.
I think the Petro is built on NEM, actually, right?
I believe that is correct. Yeah.
So, maybe we'll see, Bitcoin being used regularly during that next financial collapse. Maybe we should all just hope for a financial collapse. Where's the student debt bubble everyone's been talking about?
I was going to say, I mean, there's been a lot of susurrus in the media lately about, a lot of traditional market financial experts are predicting a Dow Jones pullback or just an overall market crash, and saying that the conditions are looking awfully similar to how they looked in 2008. I've talked to a lot of people who are pretty conservative that have bandied around the idea of cashing out their 401k and doing something else with it in the meantime, which is kind of crazy to me, to think that like you're that convinced that the financial markets are going to go down that you're willing to pay what the early withdrawal penalty to try to be able to allocate that resource elsewhere.
Well, I think the only only non-penalized thing that you could do with your 401k is I believe it's a down payment, right, or real estate in general.
That or pay for a college loan. You can do. You can pull either one at no penalty. You still have to pay interest, but you pay yourself the interest. So,
right. Oh, and you forgot other one, child support. Also, child support.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I knew college and I knew to buy a home, but yeah,
non-penalized. You could pull from. I know it's student loans and real estate, but yeah, also child support, which is crazy to me because. You know, the 401ks are supposed to be stable, and you know, as you get older, you're supposed to be less risky. Well, if you're like me and I just put everything in blue chip stocks and go crazy with it, you know, I had a pretty bad year in what was it, 2012. So I had a pretty bad year in my 401k. Actually went negative there, but you know, it's kind of crazy to me that. I think the tax is 35% if you want to pull out early, you know, just for discretionary funds. So it is a pretty ridiculous that you get taxed on the money that you pull out on a.
It's like a short-term capital gain tax then, because I believe that's 39%, if I recall correctly, for California.
Right,
short-term.
But here's the caveat, right? I think the max you could put in your 401k without being overly taxed is $18,600. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. I'm not an accountant. And then for your Roth IRA, it's $5,500, right, per year. So since you are allocating that $18,000, say I want to max out every year. If I want to allocate $18,000 or $5,500, you actually don't claim it as income. You actually claim it as a loss, so you don't get taxed on it. So, for example, if I was making $50,000 and I wanted to put $5,000 in my IRA or 401k, I would actually technically be making $4,500 instead of that $5,000. So I get tax bracketed on that $4,500. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So medical, you could also pull on your 401k too. That's just so sad. That's so sad, you know. The United States is kind of behind on the times, you know. I heard, what is it, 5,000 people a year die from not having money for basic insulin, you know, diseases that people are born in. It's pretty tragic.
Yeah, it's weird when you put your name on a this medical industry like Obamacare, and then it doesn't pan out that well.
Well, here's the thing. You have to opt into Obamacare, right? And Obamacare still, you know, it's still not that cheap. You know, it's not that expensive, but it's not that cheap either.
The insurance I bought since becoming an entrepreneur is commensurate price with the insurance that my employer at my former job was paying for me. Like what I pay a month is about the same for pretty close in coverage level. You know, I haven't had to use it a ton, obviously, since I've had it, but you know, it's when I was comparing what each package covers, they were pretty commensurate. So I'm just happy I can afford health insurance at all. You know, prior to the Affordable Care Act, they could have. It was much more difficult.
I mean,
coverage, and then there was all sorts of stipulations and restrictions and things.
Yeah,
well.
I mean, any sort of pre-existing condition. So, for example, if you had diabetes, if you're born with diabetes, your insurance rate is actually higher because you were born with diabetes than somebody who is healthy. So insurance companies literally, now they can't do that anymore because it's illegal. Obama nixed that. But earlier, you know, like, hey, now what is it? They can't discriminate based on any sort of pre-existing conditions, which I think is good, but also pretty peculiar. Do you guys have healthcare in Australia?
Yeah, our public system is pretty damn good. So you just have to wait longer. That's all. So if you have a private health care, you can use the private hospitals, and you just get in faster. It's not cheap, but our public service, which most people use, is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
and it's free. It's paid for with taxes. So.
For sure, for
Generally.
sure. Now we have some more crypto questions. Sorry for getting off topic. But,
yeah, I was going to say we're venturing. We better start talking about healthcare on the blockchain or something, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing that stuff.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty relevant right now because if you haven't filled out any sort of insurance, you have to do it. I think by the end of the year or something, because then you won't get coverage, right? Unless you have like a life-changing event. I don't know whatever the hell that counts for, but whatever a life-changing event is.
So, Mr. Kobayashi, it looks like we got an Uber bull or an Uber bear here. He says bear trap bullshit. Actually, it would be a bull trap, is what we think is happening right now. Bitcoin going to 1,000 next week. That's an angry man with a little bit of a spelling issue there.
Yeah. and all caps. That's crazy.
Yeah, all caps. That's a shouter.
Yeah.
Yeah, December 15th, Jay Crypto Minded saying December 15th was it was for Affordable Care Act. The 15th was the close of open enrollment. So sorry for anybody who missed that. But anyways, back to talking about cryptocurrency here. Yeah. Jay Crypto Minded says, U.S. is slowly crumbling. We need a retest. I mean, you know, the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar has been going down for a very, very long time.
I think that's I think purchasing power throughout all fiat currencies is down, right? All fiat currencies compared to 20 years ago, right? I think that's just a natural evolution of the markets, right? I mean, unless you don't have a Federal Reserve, and you know, I think would be kind of crazy, but you know, I am wondering, you know, how much money is actually lost, you know, physically lost, you know, whether it be accounts closed, checks lost, or money orders lost. Checks don't count. Money orders lost, or
like burned
cash,
stock certificates.
Right? You know, all the pennies that roll down the hill, you know, and all that change cash in your couch. I'm wondering how much money is actually lost compared to how much money they're printing, which is an exorbitant amount, right?
That's a good question.
I'd rather ask the question how much Bitcoin has been lost.
Yeah, I've lost over 500 Bitcoin myself, so that's always fun. That's always fun.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, but back in the day, it was worthless, so now it's worth.
I was hoping you weren't going to say it was because it was liquidated on BitMEX.
No, I'm not that big of a whale. Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. It always staggers me to hear how people that are like, yeah, I've lost X amount of Bitcoin, you know, just lost it on a hard drive somewhere, and it's more Bitcoin than I've ever owned ever. It's always one of those things that's like.
I mean, I think any of the early guys, you know, 2010 and before, or even during 2010, 2011, I think everyone at least lost some Bitcoin, unless you're very meticulous and have attention to detail. As you guys know, I don't have much attention to detail, you know.
A lot of guys gave it to Mark at Mount Gox.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, the conference we were just at in Vegas, what was it called? World CryptoCon.
Correct.
And I hate the word con instead of convention.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, CryptoCon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That
was actually a pretty good conference overall.
Yeah, there was actually some Mount Gox legal recovery team there, trying to recover my funds. So I put down my name, and then I gave them my my information and how much Bitcoin I actually lost. You know, some of those guys there, like the lawyer that actually started it all, he lost 8,000 Bitcoin in Mount Gox, which is ridiculous, right? And now he's fighting to get it back. Hindsight is 20/20, but it's got to be tough, you know. For example, you know, if I said, hey, you know, I lost 100 barrels of oil in '95. Well, it was like $10 a barrel back then, you know, in 1995.
Right.
Now it's worth more. But in hindsight, like, who's actually going to hold on to that $100 a barrel? I mean, as soon as it probably spiked in 2008, during the second Gulf War, you probably would have sold it. But these guys are saying, hey, no, I want the price now, not the price back then. So always interesting to see what the hell is actually going on with Mt. Gox and that whole dilemma.
I think people want to hear how you lost that 500 Bitcoin.
Yeah, a corrupt JSON file on my school laptop. So I was actually, I'm a nuclear engineer by trade. I'm probably on all sorts of watch lists, being a brown man as a nuclear engineer and love cryptocurrencies. It's got to be crazy, right? But so I was a nuclear engineer, and I was mining with school servers because there's just some thermodynamic equations that you need high computing power for, but like 90% of the time you don't. The servers weren't even on, so I started mining on the school servers. I think that's probably against the policy of use, but I started doing that, and then I put it on my school laptop along with a term paper that I got an extension on. That also became corrupt. It was my JSON file. Yeah, so that's always fun. Yeah.
So did you have to write that paper again?
Well, I kind of plagiarized a little bit, but that's also against the policy of use. I was like, I reached back out to my friends after they already got their preliminary reports back, and I was like, hey, like, let me use some of this content, So I had like a week to do like a 3-month project because now I back everything up. So yeah, I back everything up now, including my crypto keys and my passwords and your 2FA codes. Even though most exchanges could get those 2FA codes back, I just don't trust it. I just don't trust exchanges to ever give me my 2FA code. So make sure you guys always keep your private keys, your mnemonic phrase, back up everything, guys. Always do that.
So here's let's talk about this, because I actually had a buddy reach out to me recently asking about this, and I realized I've never had to address it personally. So I had a buddy who had a phone stolen from him, and that had all his 2FA on it when this was an iPhone. So when he re-imported, he opened a new authenticator, or, installed the authenticator app and tried to re-import his profile, he said he lost his 2FA codes. I was under the impression that actually it would have automatically gone back to the same 2FA if you restored from a backup or something. So fill me in for my own knowledge on this one, and then anybody else out here who doesn't know as well.
Well, I think that's a good security precaution too, because if you lost your phone, and that key code, I think what is it like? If you try 10 times wrong, like you could set it to a feature where it auto deletes the phone or it locks it out for 24 hours or something, right?
Right. Yes. But so say for instance, like if he did, I know you can wipe the other phone, et cetera, but I'm saying like he tried to restore his phone from a backup so that theoretically it would have restored all of the apps that he had installed, et cetera, but he said the 2FA didn't work and he can't get to his money on his exchanges. Is he screwed?
Yeah.
Well, when you do the 2FA code, you can print out the screen with the QR code. So when you reinstall, you can just scan that again. That's like a paper backup you can put in a safe or something like that.
There you go. That's the smart thing. All right, guys. So there we go. Best practices. Print out the QR code for your 2FA. I never would have even thought about that. I totally assumed that it would have just
honestly,
it would have been imported when I restored from a backup. So
honestly, like I no longer use my ledger or anything like that. What I have is you could either use an old iPhone or an iPod Touch or anything like that. Get a mobile wallet, put your crypto on it, and put your 2FA codes on it.
So
make sure it's locked, and then disconnect it from the internet. And therefore, now it's a cold storage, right? Simple as
I got a question though. What wallet am I going to use?
But what mobile wallet?
Yeah, I mean, you could use a lot of different mobile wallets, but preferably one that gives you ease of access to your private keys. I think there's one called Monarch that's available.
So, Sneh, while we're here, since we are clearly all involved with our favorite wallet project, when is that? I saw the. When is the update coming out? I guess would be the question I should ask.
Update should be coming out at the end of the year. Hopefully, if everything goes as planned. I think it's one of the first crypto wallets that give you your private keys, and also you could buy crypto and you actually hold your crypto fiat to crypto. So yeah, this will be my final shill, but I had to bring it up, because it was pertinent to the conversation of keeping your private keys and being safe, right?
So, well, then here's something actually. So I've thought about this. I wrote an article last week about HTC is moving into the blockchain phone space. Siren Labs was going to release their blockchain phone, but has decided that maybe they're not going to release hardware and they're just going to license out their software. And then there's also a huge rumor about Samsung installing a hardware wallet into their phone. So let's talk about that again. Just thinking about Monarch got me thinking about why would you buy a hardware phone that has a so-called cold storage wallet in it? Is it really cold storage then? Because it's still actively, if the phone is online, technically, how could it ever be cold?
It's device only. It's device only, right? So your private keys, your encryption method happens on the device. The transaction is sent from the device and then broadcasted that way. Of course, you still have to. The most secure method that you could use is actually running a full node and not calling on a node. But it's kind of crazy right now. For example, if you go to MyEther wallet, which most people use for ERC20 tokens, they have one node that does every single one of their transactions, and then they have redundant backup ones, but they don't split it up, right? So is that safe? No, it's not safe. And that's what I'm trying to get at. It's not safe, but you could reference your pathway from MyEther wallet to leverage other nodes if you want. For example, if you're running a full node, you could go onto Mu, use their software to launch things like that. And for example, Ledger does that as well. For example, you could access Ledger through a MyEther wallet using their own node, so you're using Ledger's node when you do that. So you're calling on Ledger's pathway.
It works really well. It sticks quite a lot. I find that the Ledger, if you're going to use Ledger, I would recommend using it with their Ledger Live app. That thing is actually pretty sweet. Using it new works, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. It freezes a lot.
Yeah, I actually, I use the Chrome extension, but that's only for Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's what I do. I don't think they support ERC20, do they? For Ledger.
I don't know. Yeah. Back to the that Siren phone. I think when they first come out, it was a $20,000 one, and I think it had a switch that turned the hardware wallet side of it on and off.
Yeah.
And then they started trying to make like a $5,000 or $1,500 one. But I think the licensing route's a way to go. It's a competitive market to be making hardware. It's expensive. It's not. Yeah. I don't know if it's sustainable, not in this market. So licensing is generally the way to go for something like that.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're just going to be contracting out your hardware to other manufacturers. It's not like you're in the process of developing chips yourself or the glassware or anything like that. But I'm curious to see who will take it.
The HTC thing is supposedly there was a subsection in the chip that was running the hardware wallet software, and I was like, so supposedly it would run in parallel to Android and wouldn't actually run via the Android operating system, which I guess is how they were, keeping it separate. But I've heard a lot of people say that they're afraid of, vulnerabilities.
that's pretty weak. I mean, if you invested in their ICO and you had this expectation, what do you tell your investors? Like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, for Siren, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the whole mic just came off. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. When the entire raise was based upon going forward through one market vertical, and now they've pivoted halfway through, what does that do for investor confidence?
And did you see Substratum, what they're doing?
Yeah.
They're day trading Ethereum.
That's ridiculous. They're maxing too. Everyone's maxing, baby.
Hey, it's better than, I mean, you know, a lot of people were talking a lot of shit about Stratum being like, oh, they're going to go through a second ICO or whatever. So I say carry on. Bravo, Substratum. If you think you've got the chops to trade, to keep your funding funded.
I don't know who's trading. I don't know who's trading for them. I heard they predicted ETH to go to $60 though. So it could be dangerous. Anyway, after I heard that, I heard someone talking about Apple and Steve Jobs, and I think at the time around the first iPod, they were down on money in their the last money of the company went to a day trader. They gave it to a day trader to make money with. I don't know if it's true or not.
That's ridiculous. I mean, and you're supposed to liquidate everything that you receive. Right, per financial guidelines, you're supposed to liquidate it.
Right. Yeah, he was saying that they cashed out a lot from like 1,000 to 1,200. But yeah, I don't know what's going on now. I thought it just seemed like a joke.
No, that is a big joke. I mean, I can't imagine an investor being like, "Oh, like here's money to build a product that you promise, but wait, let's give it to a trader and try to profit off of the investor's money," which is risky as hell. It's super risky. Like, what are they doing? You know, I hope ETH goes to like 20 million, and then they get completely burned and then sued. You know?
Yeah, well, it seems like they might be banking on it going to 60. So
that is absurd. that is pretty absurd. And they probably have enough ETH to sway the market to 60. I mean, they could probably put some huge sell walls down there, man. Huge sell walls. And then they could probably manipulate all the CME, CBOE, and mexers out there. So they could do it.
Was their ICO, was their raise that big that they would have that kind of leverage?
Oh, it was pretty big. I mean, especially how cheap ETH was back in that day, right?
Yeah.
They didn't do it when Ether was 1,000, right? They did it when Ether was like, I think it was like 100, right? Probably cheaper than it is now, but I don't really know.
So we have a. So I think this is also particularly poignant in going back to being in possession of your own private keys. Dylan would like us to talk about proof of keys. Do you guys know? He's at proofofkeys.com, but are you guys familiar with this? Trace Mayer's movement for everybody to take their crypto off of exchanges and put it in a cold wallet by January 3rd. Are you guys familiar with this?
Who is that?
Trace Mayer.
Yeah, where do I know that name from? He's very familiar.
Yeah, he's like he's an influencer guy. He's he's another one that's in the space. Particularly, he's saying like, let's remind everybody that the whole point of this is to be in ownership of your own private funds. Put your keys in a wallet. He's like, be a first-class Bitcoin citizen. Put your keys in a wallet. Run your own full node. Be a first-class citizen. At least if you own all of your keys in your own wallet, you're a second-class citizen. Stop leaving it on the exchanges. These people are your monetary enemy. They're
run a full node. Is this guy high?
Well, he's talking about you're not going to give you the forks, et cetera, et cetera. So so my perspective on this is it sounds great from an idealistic perspective. Let's show everybody this. What I am really afraid of as a trader is that yeah, exactly. Like, okay, so a bunch of people pull their Bitcoin off of the exchange, and it's all small, what would amount to dust amounts if you're a whale.
I mean, you don't even know if you have that. You
don't even keys, and then they crash the market or pump the market. Either way, and everybody totally misses out. I guess if they pump the market, they wouldn't be totally missing out. But if they crash the market, everybody's taken too long because they've taken the time to send all of their crypto to their cold storage wallet, don't have time to get it back to the exchange in time to not get wrecked. That's my fear.
What's even more terrifying is right now what you have on an exchange is just an account balance. It's just a number that they put up there using a SQL database, right? That's all they're doing. What's would be really terrifying is if they said, "Hey, we don't actually have that much Bitcoin," you know. So even though you deposited it, we don't actually have it anymore because we sent it all to day traders to make money.
Yeah,
that's how you collapse a bank. That's how you collapse the banking industry. You tell everyone to take their money out.
Yeah, that's true. It's crazy. That's super crazy.
A good old fractional reserve banking. Yeah.
Right. Well, so I mean, do you think that's what Trace Mayer is trying to accomplish here? Is he trying to? I mean, what would that do? Like, let's speculate on this a little bit, guys, because I'm actually. What do you think? What would that do if everybody does pull? So say everybody goes and we get a bank run, if you will, on crypto, where everybody goes to Coinbase and Kraken and MEX and everywhere else, Bittrex and Binance, and they all pull their funds and take it all and stick it into, they stick it into a cold wallet. What does that actually do? What does that do for the market? What does that do for the price?
I honestly don't think people can even do that right now because there's withdrawal limits that exchanges have, right? That's part of the user agreement that you have. Cough, cough. With Monarch, there is no withdrawal limit because you own your own money.
Well, so then the exchanges collapse and we can OTC trade all day long.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would love to see the future contracts. Then that'd be crazy. That'd be just crazy. I mean, any sort of FUD like this is going to crash the market. So, and there's no way it's going to pump anything. And it's going to clog the network.
You could only pull off saying this when the market's so low. Try saying that when we're going down all this year. It's just holding wasn't really a strategy, that's for sure.
No,
and he's talking about an investment strategy. It's like, when you buy blue chip stocks or something, you're not generally buying them to flip it. You want to make money in the long run and pass it down to the next generation.
That's true. That's very true.
So, Dylan says, not true. Exchanges may have to buy up to have enough to reflect their balance. So I guess ultimately that's what it comes down to is if we're already in a fractional reserve banking world, then has the Bitcoin experiment gone awry? If we're already running the risk of not knowing that we're operating in another fractional reserve banking system, if we all try to go pull our Bitcoin out of Coinbase tomorrow, aside from withdrawal limits, do you think they have enough?
But here's the thing. If he said the exchanges may have to go buy.
They could go run.
Yeah, they would just go dry, and so then now we're giving all the power back to the miners. Now all the miners that have Bitcoin that they're mining, they would be selling on the market for a crazy premium. So maybe it would pump the market. Who knows? Who knows what happens in this wild, wild west? So
while we're talking about who knows what happens in this wild, wild west, we've been on for about 48 minutes. We put the title on this one as 2019 market predictions. What do we think next year, guys? What do you think? What direction is it going? What's going to be the big move? What are we thinking for 2019? Extended bear period? Chances of massive bull market? Do we see it just trading sideways? What do you guys think?
So, okay, I guess I'll go first. There's a superstition here, especially in Pennsylvania. It's called the groundhog. So, what I think is we'll have 6 more months of bear market. I think, mid-2019, we should turn it around, especially with the halvening coming up. And, hopefully Q2, Q3, historically, it should be stronger, especially as consensus rolls around. Usually there's a big pump right before consensus. And yeah, you just got to wait for market adoption. But I think we're still going to move sideways, and when I mean sideways, I mean $7,000 to $2,000 for the next 6 months.
James?
Yeah, it's just going to take time to make a judgment. I'm not one to make predictions, really. So trending sideways. It's going to be some time. We'll start seeing institutions come in, and it's basically when we see a new cycle of people coming in. So, you know, I think a lot of people got burnt so hard, they're just not looking. They don't really care. I'm waiting to see another cycle of new people come in. And it's going to be some major news, maybe Amazon, whatever it may be, some mass adoption, and then we'll see people look more, and then they'll start getting in, and you'll start seeing it in more mainstream media, and that's kind of going to be a signal. But I just see us kind of trending sideways, maybe down and slowly up, and well, that's about it.
Yeah, I would say I think we probably stay range bound for a little while. Again, I think it could be a pretty broad range just looking at the chart. I think Snae's probably got it. I would say there is a potential for it to fall down into the $1,200 to $1,500 range, but I don't know that it would stay there very long if it did get down there.
I hope we're all wrong. You know, I hope.
Yeah,
I hope so. 30,000 tomorrow. You know, but
yeah,
we're just trying to be realistic here, right?
Exactly. I mean, I'm just saying purely what I see in the charts and what I think is going to happen based on market sentiment, what the chart tells me, and just what I know from having been in the space for as long as I have, which is only a few years now, but that's a lot of time in this market compared to traditional markets, certainly.
That's true.
So yeah, I still say 2019 year of derivative products. Whether I like it or not, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a ton of different derivative products coming out, and I believe security token offerings obviously are going to largely be the only way to get into the market in 2019, or at least for American investors.
Did you see the new White House staff lead is really bullish on Bitcoin? So
I saw a headline on it. I did not read the article, but I did see a headline about it. So that is happy time overall. Anytime
as I
say, anytime we have government officials that are pro crypto, it gives me a little bit of warm fuzzy. Mulvaney, that's let's go, man. Momo is way more powerful than you guys think. It just takes one major catalyst to ignite this fire, says the man with the coolest name, Monero Gennaro. I love that. Yeah, I mean, we saw it before, but here's the factor, I think, with the FOMO is I think kind of what you were saying, James. I think a lot of people got burned bad enough. I don't think the FOMO is going to – I don't think people are going to have as strong of FOMO. There's going to be a little bit more of a gap of time, I think, to make people forget how hot the stove was when they touched it last time before they want to start to cook again. Yeah,
and the new ones aren't going to come in till it's probably over 10K, and we've moved up so much that media gets behind it saying, look, look what's happening. And, CNBC and all those great predictors start saying it's going to be $1 million again. So
yeah. Well, and exactly, right? I mean,
Monero, what's happening, Jason? What's happening with Monero?
Monero. Oh, yeah. Actually, while we're on the subject, yeah. So I've got Diego Salazar from Monero Community coming on Wednesday for an interview. So that should be fun. Talking about just what sort of developments they've got upcoming in the community. If there's any new upgrades going on. Talking about the Bulletproofs upgrade, which was installed. I guess that's been about a month and changed or so since that protocol got installed. But 80% lower transaction fees, faster block times. Monero is making moves, so I'm interested to learn more about what's going on from the community. Also, while we're on the subject, I've got it's apparently Privacy Coin Week on CryptoSomniac because I've got Rolf, the co-founder of Horizon, coming on Thursday as well. So
Horizon, formerly
Zencash, yes.
Zencash, okay.
So yeah, so we're going to talk with their co-founder and talk about some of they've got a bunch of new stuff coming out, Zen Hide, Zen Pub, Zen Chat. So want to learn about some of the things that they're going to be deploying on top of their protocol. Should be interesting stuff. And yeah, say Jay Crypto Minded says personally loves staking tokens. Horizon happens to be a stakeable token now, so get to talk a little bit about that as well.
Oh, proof of stake. Do me a favor, guys. Do me a favor, guys. Smash that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell if you want to know when we're online. We usually exclusively do live. unless it's like an interview or something. And join our Discord group, guys. If you want, there's a link above for the 14-day free trial for cryptosonic.com/CSA. Or if you just want to join for free into the larger community, you don't quite get the materials that we have, and we're traders here, so we're always talking trading, and a really robust, great community. You could go over and join the free lounge at cryptosonic.com/discord1, cryptosonic.com/discord1, and I thought I had. Oh, there it is. Okay, so here's Discord 1. That's the free lounge, and then this is the advantage.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah.
And then also we should say it too, guys. Anybody who is interested in joining the advantage, or even for renewing your memberships, we are running our holiday sale right now. So we are doing 30% off select memberships. If you go over to the website, just go to cryptosomniac.com, click the little advantage button. When you go to the cart, everything is applied there. And then while we're talking about it too, we did put a bunch of cool new merch up. So if you've got a crypto geek that you need a last minute crypto Christmas gift for, check out some of our new shirt designs. We got the No FOMO shirt, classic Bitcoin shirt, new Cryptosomniac shirt, and my weak hands, the weak hands shirt is up there as well. So
see it. Take it off. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, take it off. Yeah. So those are all up there. So if anybody is interested in those, head on over to cryptosomniac.com. Check out the good stuff.
For sure. And I guess we'll talk to you guys in the Discord group. Feel free to join up. Usually we have Amal and Jordan on here as well. But yeah, the 5 of us, and including we make up the core group of the Cryptosomniac. So take it easy, guys, and I really appreciate it. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, buy Bitcoin. That's all I got.
Yeah, right. So yeah, guys, if you do like the content we put up, please do give us a share, point people in the direction, and hit the bell so you do know when we go live. This will be the last Trader Talk for the year, but we will still be streaming more as we close out the year. It just so happens that they line up with Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and that's family and party time. So no more Trader Talks for 2018.
Not me. All I do is crypto. What's a family? I'm just kidding. Yeah, guys. I think and to be really real true with you guys, you know, when it comes to family and stuff like that, crypto could wait, guys. Honestly, at the end of the day, make sure you spend time with your family. Don't sit on YouTube watching YouTubers on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve and things like that. You know, go spend time with some family, because you know, at the end of the day, you know, when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to wish, hey, I wish I would have traded one more day or one more hour of trading. You would have said, hey, I wish I would have spent more time with family. So make sure you guys enjoy yourselves over the holiday weekend. I mean, we'll still be streaming, you know, as we get closer, but I'm just saying this will be the last Trader Talk as a group. Yeah, exactly. I'll be on tomorrow. We'll do some individual shows. We got some more. Amal's got some new stuff. What else? Oh yeah, we got a couple new courses coming out. So if anybody is interested in a TA course from Amal, the man himself, we're working on that. And for anybody that James's Mex course. What's up? James's Mex course. Yeah, right. Yeah. James's Mex course is already there right now. And then we just put up for anybody who's a new trader, we put up our Exchange Fundamentals course, so you can kind of get a feel for Poloniex, Binance, Bittrex, Coinbase, GDAX, etc., before you actually create an account, and just learn how to use the various functionalities. So that's now that comes along. And also anybody that signs up while we're running the promo gets a free 30-minute one-on-one with any of our TA staff members. So if you guys have been thinking about signing up, now's a really good time to do so. I'm thinking about a Christmas competition as well. So I did an interview with OTC Desk. I'm gonna put it up on the channel this week. Whoever can guess who the oldest client is of the OTC Desk, biggest in Australia by volume and clients,
and whoever can guess closest to who the oldest client is, the age of the oldest client, we'll do a Christmas giveaway. How about that?
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
You can start guessing now, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. You want to enter the competition? Leave a comment down below. Who do you how old do you think the oldest client at the OTC desk in Australia is? We'll see if we can maybe give you some more clues in the video that James posts. But until then.
All right. Peace out.
Yeah.
Right on, guys.